Welcome to Week in Geek, your new comics preview for August 27th. I'm Mike Ortiz.
And I'm the Chris Brown.
So what do you got?
I'm going to lead off here with, this is kind of an unusual one. I don't usually do a lot of the Super Pets books. I've got DC Super Pets, Swamp Thing versus the Zombie Pets. This is by John Szaklis, illustrated by Art Baltazar. So that's where I've got it. It's it's kind of a words and pictures book. It's not really a comic book. It's a young reader's book. It's got some great art by Art. I like the idea of the zombie pets. I like the idea of seeing Swamp Thing drawn by Art Baltazar. I like the darker stuff. I like the horror stuff, and I love Art. I love Art's artwork. I like Art as a person. To see Art doing some zombie stuff, some things that are a little bit in my wheelhouse like this, just fantastic. Cool. Really, really cool stuff. I've got a few of these this week. I'm kind of a cool pick for the youngsters and just something new from Art Baltazar there. I like that. Next up, I've got, this is Inhuman. Oh, I got everything here. I thought I had a couple. So I've got, this is Inhuman number 4. This is by Charles Soule with art by Ryan Stegman. Was Stegman doing the... I don't think Stegman was on the previous issues. No, I thought it was McGinnis, right?
Was it Mediera?
Was it Mediera? Okay.
One of those guys.
So we've got Ryan Stegman on this book. Maybe it'll get on time. Get into a little schedule here. I like this. We've got basically the Terrigen mists have activated a lot of dormant Inhumans, and they're kind of opening up or waking up and popping out of these cocoons. And there's a character that was kind of trying to rally everyone up. There's maybe a little bit of a group that's fighting against Black Bolt, believes Black Bolt isn't the rightful king, and that sort of thing. It's a cool story. It's got some new characters, some characters you recognize, and it's got Charles Soule's writing style, which I think is phenomenal.
Did Black Bolt come back in this series?
Not that I've seen yet. Okay. I don't think I've read issue 3 yet, which just came out a couple weeks ago. But they've been so late; they're trying to get him caught up, but not yet.
Okay. I was wondering because he showed up in New Avengers, and I was like, didn't he die in Infinity or something like that?
Something like that.
Well, disappeared or something.
Right.
Like that.
They've done that a couple times where he dies and comes back. Next, I've got Cyclops, issue number 4. This is 16-year-old Scott Summers off as a space pirate with his dad.
Nice.
Scott Summers, who never really knew his dad, didn't have his dad, and now Cyclops and Pops are floating around. I think it's a neat idea for a book. I like it. I think it's interesting the way they've worked the continuity in. I don't know how it is that the Cyclops that, with daddy issues, that's a bad guy and doing his thing and whatever. I don't understand how that hasn't changed when this is now happening to him. I don't know. I don't understand how time travel works. I don't understand how Marvel time travel works. I have no idea.
The only thing crazier than Marvel time travel is Star Trek time travel, and that'll come up later.
Or, time travel when you drink. You just wake up and it's, the next day, and what the hell just happened? That makes about as much sense as the Marvel time travel to me half the time. Mm-hmm. Next up, I've got All New Invaders. This is issue number 9. This is Death by Deathlock. James Robinson, I think, is doing a cool job with this book. I dig it. I like how, Jim Hammond is kind of the main character, the original Human Torch. And, of course, they've got to fit Deathlock into the equation because he's going to be a major player on S.H.I.E.L.D., so he's got his own book coming. This appears to still be the original Deathlock, and then they're going to make him look more like the TV show as it gets further along. So they're just refamiliarizing us with the idea of Deathlock, and there's a bunch of Deathlocks from the future, and that's probably how they're going to hit the restart button. To steal an advertising term, they're going to hit the easy button and do whatever they're going to do. Come back to my buddy Charles Soule. It's letter 44, number 9. I love this book. What else do I got to tell you about this book? That I haven't told you in weeks, in months prior. This is it's got some intriguing government stuff. There's an alien invasion making its way to Earth. The previous president was preparing the men and women of Earth for that invasion by starting wars on foreign soil. Now our current president is dealing with should he let everybody know what's happening. We've got the old president still in there, and he's still being a sneaky SOB. The people that are up, Queen apparently is in this issue because there's Freddie Mercury right there. All right, I think I probably just sold an extra couple of copies, including one to Jabbo. It's really cool stuff. We're dealing with the astronauts that are out in space. One of the women had a baby, and this is a one-way trip. There's no trip home. And the reactor thing that they're out there trying to figure out, is making some movement, and just the plot thickens, the intrigue heightens, and just a great book, and I really dig it. Next up, I've got an image book here. This is Wayward #1. This is a story by Jim Zub, who did Skull Kickers, which, went for a long time. The #1 got some buzz, and then no one read it. It did not do very well for me. Jim Zub, by all accounts, is a very nice guy, from what I understand. He was writing Samurai Jack with my buddy Andy Siriano doing the art. And so now this is Jim Zub doing some over here, another image book. This is line art by Steve Cummings, and John Rock and Jim Zub did the colors. So he is throwing his hand into the art. It looks like it's some kind of vampire thing. There's a chick with pointy teeth. I don't really know what it's about. It looks like our lead is, our protagonist is a girl. It looks like she's a vampire. There's people tearing their faces off. When you get people tearing their faces off and turning into goblins, I'm in. That seems good. So I want to give this one a try. It's an image #1. I like that we're seeing more and more, books with female leads, which is a great thing. We got a lot.
Does she have her butt in the air?
I don't know if she has her butt in the air. I guess I'd have to look. I mean, that's all the talk right now, right? Is it Milo Manara that's also being accused of butt in the air?
Well, not his butt.
He
put Spider-Woman's butt.
Yeah, but someone else was talking about something. I don't know. Everyone's all fired up.
Yeah, a lot of butts in the air.
Sometimes I like to raise my butt in the air like I just don't care. Mm-hmm. Hey, whatever. Who cares?
I've raised my butt in the air many times. Never on the cover of a comic book, though.
It's only because someone won't put my raised butt on the cover of a comic book.
Yeah.
You want to put my raised butt on the cover of a comic book? I'm all about it, and I'm not offended.
Yeah, me too.
Next up, there's a little butt in the air.
There's some butt.
Looks like she's
That's not the cover, though.
Looks like she's space tooting, too. Yeah. I don't know what's going on there.
Space toot.
Oopsie, I made a universe. Well, all right
I'm
there.
offended by that.
I feel like I should be, but I'm just not.
I don't know. Sometimes I think the universe is one big fart.
I don't disagree. I mean, we're the Big Bang, right? So, and in the meantime, the book titled Sex has BJs in every issue, and no one says anything about that.
Not on the cover.
There have been some racy things on the cover.
Protect the children.
Protect the children. This is Saga #22.
Not for children.
Not for children at all.
No.
But the children also don't have to be protected from it. It's just something they shouldn't be reading. It's not intended for them. It's not...
Honestly, I can't think of a child in the world that would like this book because there's a lot of talking and not a lot of people getting punched in the head.
You're right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Every once in a while there's some shooting, but...
Sure. There's some great stuff. I really enjoy this. There was Austin Shu, who does, and I probably butchered his last name, but he does Oscar Paper Company. He's been doing paper figures of the Saga characters. Oh, wow. If you go to his Facebook page, they look fantastic. Really, really cool stuff. But this is a great book. What can I say about Saga that I haven't said for 22 months, excluding the months when I didn't have it in my stack and you had it in yours?
And the times when it takes a break.
And the times when it takes a break. Right.
So for at least 22 out of the WeekNGeeks, there have been a Saga in there with someone going, this is a good book.
Absolutely. Next up, I've got Outcast #3. This is titled I Remember When She Loved Me. This is our lead character has some kind of connection. He was possessed by a demon when he was a kid. He's now kind of being drawn into this whole thing with demon possession and trying to help exorcise demons. I'm not entirely sure what's going on yet. At this point, what it is, Hellblazer in it? Was it Constantine's on the last page?
It doesn't have a cigarette, so it must be the one from the TV show.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. I think it's been a good book. I think the methodical way in which Kirkman tells a story has been good. He's definitely taking his time to get that out there. He also knows he's got a Showtime deal coming, so he's probably trying to, put as much stuff as he can, make sure it finds its way to the screen, and doesn't leave too much room for interpretation. It's pretty good tight story, but very much the decompressed storytelling style. Next up, I've got Drumheller #8. Man, I love this book. I really absolutely love this book. And as I'm looking at this, I believe this is the first issue that I get to read in print first. I did get to read 7, a couple months back. Riley never got me the 8, so now that I've got the 8 in front of me, I'm going to go whining that I want the 9 and the 10 too tonight, I guess. Riley, I love your stuff. I'm impatient. I say good things.
He's feeling unloved.
I am feeling a little unloved. Drumheller's a great book. I don't know how much I can say about this either, other than the fact that I'm a little sad it's ending. It's ending with issue 10, but the solicitation for issue 10 didn't have a lot of finality to it. He said they are telling the story that they wanted to tell. He does get to tell the ending he wanted to tell, even though he was hoping to go to 15. I feel like issue 7 was very much, hey, we have to introduce all these elements real quick so that we can get to our conclusion. It was kind of like Green Wake, where suddenly we've got to end, we got to get it done. But I love it. I love this book, and I'm really going to miss this character when he's gone. I think there's some really cool stuff going on here, and he's introduced so many cool concepts, and it's a shame we only get 2 story arcs out of it. I love it. Go back and pick up the issues if you haven't. It's Riley Rossmo's art, and it's looked better than it ever has, and his stuff always looks amazing. So that's the bulk of my stack for this week. What do you got?
I'm going to start off here with Guardians of the Galaxy number 18. Guardians of the Galaxy, which has just become a phenomenon like nobody's business. I mean, it is on track to being the biggest movie of the summer, if not the year.
They're still showing commercials on TV. Going, get back to the theater, and it's been out for a month.
It actually, I believe, retook the number 1 spot this past weekend.
Right
beating
on.
out a bunch of much newer movies. Deservedly so. It was a great movie. If you haven't seen it, I can't believe... Actually, if you are actually watching this and you have not seen Guardians of the Galaxy, I would be very surprised.
Agreed.
That's in your
Everyone's
wheelhouse.
seen it at this point, right?
Right. Or at least anyone who's going to watch a show about comic books on YouTube. I mean, that's right up your alley. Unless you can't get out of the house for some reason, in which case, watch it when it comes out on video.
Right.
We won't spoil anything for you.
No.
But in any event, I'm going to tell you a little story here.
Okay. Please. Storytelling time.
A couple weeks back here in Michigan,
talk to me, Uncle Mike.
We had a lot of rain. A whole lot
the
of rain.
hell you say?
And a bunch of that rain showed up in my basement. Now, there was some damage done. Not as bad as many other people. But one of the things lost was my box of unread comic books. So I have no idea what's going on in here because the issue prior to this was in my box of unread comic books. And I have not read it.
Okay.
And I've slowly been replacing some of the stuff that I lost, even though I'm probably just going to drop a lot of books that maybe kind of piled up a bit. But in any event, you're going to hear this a lot. I think of the stack I have, I'm now officially caught up on 1 book. But one thing I do know about this is it's got Thanos on the cover, which means I would have bought it even if I didn't normally buy Guardians of the Galaxy.
I've got a ton of them. I think it's a new story arc.
But, we got art by Ed McGuinness, which is awesome. And also, a lot of people, if you remember... a lot of the Marvel Cosmic got relaunched with the Annihilation stuff.
Yes.
That started off with Annihilation. That's where we got the new Guardians, where we got Nova, where we got all those Annihilation, like War of Kings and Thanos Imperative. At the end of that kind of run, Thanos and Nova, and I think was even Star-Lord, are trapped in this kind of weird alternate dimension where everything is evil and Lovecraftian. Somehow Thanos got out. And Star-Lord got out, but Nova didn't. And they never told the story why or how that happened. All of a sudden, we just had a new Nova. But this, I believe, is how they got out and will show kind of the final fate of Richard Rider, who probably is dead until they decide to bring him back.
Of course.
So yeah, even though I don't know what happened to the previous issue, I do remember reading something about this is going to be the one that tells you what happened to those people and fills in the gap between the old Guardians of the Galaxy series and this new one that Bendis launched. Next up, New Avengers number 34. The 33 was also in the box. So I don't know what happened there, but I know this is the Avengers in the future. It's an original Sin tie-in, even though it doesn't tie in very closely, other than at the beginning of this storyline, Steve finds out what happens or that he got his mind wiped. But it looks like they're in the far future. Looks like they're meeting up with Immortus and Kang and Iron Lad, who are all the same person. And we're going to get some more of that wacky Marvel time travel that we were talking about. And it looks like Captain America has got the time gem. And, but yeah, this is continuing, Hickman's large, singular, and so far awesome, but also slow-moving run on the Avengers. Next up, all new X-Men number 31. Guess what was in that box?
Issue 30?
Issue 30. So
issue 29, maybe?
I think 29 might have been in there too. I'm not really sure. So yeah, I don't know what's going on in here, but this is the ongoing young X-Men in the present. They're teamed up with Cyclops, and it looks like some neat stuff going on in here. So I'm not going to spoil. Okay, this is where it happens. There's something happens at the end.
All right, this is going to be a big one this week.
Tying two Bendis books together. But good stuff. Again, much like Saga, we've been singing the praises of all new X-Men.
Yes.
One of my favorite Marvel books.
It's a good book.
Batman Eternal number 21. Now, surprisingly, all my Batman Eternals did survive because they were in a small stack that was next to the bed, but they're also equally unread. Although, with this one being a month behind means 5. Now, actually, I think I'm up to 6 issues behind, which is funny because it's just a month.
Straight paperbacks worth.
It's just a month and a half. But if I don't get caught up on this book soon, I'm probably going to wind up dropping it. But yeah, this is the weekly Batman book that actually shows you why weekly books are dangerous, because you get behind, you get way behind.
Right. Start to stack up quick.
Next up, Sinestro number 5. Again, another one that was not damaged, but I am still an issue behind. This is looks like we got Dale Eaglesham back on the artwork. We had
nice.
one issue by Rags Morales. When last I left off here, Sinestro was basically trying to find the surviving people from his planet Korrigar, which was destroyed back by, I think, the first Lantern destroyed it. He found out that there were survivors. Now he's going to find them and sort of save his people and help his people. It looks like we got some yellow fear bug in this too, and Hal Jordan dealing with this. But yeah, as I've said before, even though I'm behind on the Green Lantern books, I do want to get caught up because that Godhead series is coming soon, and at least we get a little bit of a break with Future's End next month for me to get caught up.
Yep.
Similarly, we've got Red Lanterns. When last we left off here, we had a battle between the two Red Lantern factions. One led by Atrocitus. The creator of the Red Lanterns, one by Guy Gardner, who took over. As I've said, every issue, this is a great book. Charles Soule has completely turned it around from being really the weakest of the Lantern books to one of the strongest. It's got a unique take.
He's got such a great voice in his storytelling.
Mm-hmm. And he's been able to give all the characters very unique voices. Voices different from where they were in the books before, but still consistent. I mean, he didn't just make an arbitrary change. He kind of wove the changes in personality into the story somewhat. But honestly, is just telling a much more interesting story. This Guy Gardner goes undercover, becomes a Red Lantern to sort of figure out what's going on, and then when the Blue Lanterns all go away, he's trapped. But he decides to stay a Red Lantern because he knows that he can still do good. So it's almost like they're almost like the Punishers. A bunch of Punishers with power rings. They're kind of badass and they'll kill you if you mess with them, but they're still trying to do good, and they're trying to mostly just kill bad people.
Okay.
Sometimes, one person's a bad person is another person's saint. Who knows? But great book. Charles Soule, 3 books this week from Charles Soule, so a good week for him. And yeah, this is one that I definitely. You can tell that these survived because I had them sitting next to my bed, because these were on the top of the stack to read. This past 2 weeks, I spent most of my time cleaning stuff rather than reading.
It's been that way for a lot in the Metro Detroit area.
Yeah, and like I said, I know I'm one of the. I was hit just incrementally compared to other people I know. Another one in that list is Manhattan Projects. This one I actually did pick up the issues that I've missed. I just haven't got caught up with them. This is basically much like New Avengers. This is Jonathan Hickman telling stories about smart people without any oversight and how dangerous they can be. So here we've got the greatest scientists of the 20th century, all basically trying to help humanity. Looks like we got some Fidel Castro in here.
Is that Che Guevara?
Yeah, we've got. It's weird. This book has a lot of politics in it.
Yeah.
It's had Roosevelt. It had Kennedy. It had Truman.
It's so over the top.
But it's not like a political book. I mean, it's a sci-fi comedy book that's just bizarre and ridiculous, with Hickman and Nick Pitara just coming up with weird ass stuff. There's a lot of stuff. One of my complaints about a lot of modern comics is that a lot of them feel like they're meant to be movies or TV shows. This wouldn't work as a movie or TV show. This is a comic book because it's just the ridiculousness in here and the bizarre artwork of Nick Pitara. If you made it realistic, it would be boring. If you did it straight, it would just be too much. So.
And even, when Ryan Brown occasionally fills he's such a great fill-in on it because he just fits that book with his own wacky sensibilities.
Very similar kind of stuff. Next up, City on the Edge of Forever, number 3. Number 2 was in that pile too, so I don't know what happened. But this is telling Harlan Ellison's original screenplay that got
the art looks great.
Rejected. Oh, very photorealistic, painted artwork. I mean, this looks like this could have been a TV show back in 1966. The look is dead on. He's captured the actors. It's basically this is the alternate universe where this episode got made instead of the one that we saw. The one we saw is a great episode,
Right.
And I've read this story. This isn't the first time the story has been presented. It's been summarized. The actual screenplay was published. I've read the story. I think some of the stuff that Ellison did does work better. I actually like the ending of the one that was aired more than this one. I think it's a little bit more in character, but that's also, this was a first season episode, so the characters were not really as well defined. So one of the reasons why I think the other one fits more in character is because it's consistent with what came after. But it's still great stuff. Harlan Ellison is a tremendously talented writer. They're actually doing something like this with Batman 66. He wrote an episode of the old Batman TV series that didn't get produced, but not because of any issues with the show. That I guess now in the Batman 66 book they're going to adapt it. So all like this, that George Lucas Star Wars draft, they're just taking all this old stuff that didn't get made and making it into comics. So I hope they do that with Kevin Smith's Superman Lives. That Tim Burton, there's a lot of buzz about that because there's a documentary. Oh, believe me, that would be the craziest comic book you've ever read.
I've read the script. It's terrible.
Oh, so have I. But imagine doing that like as a Tim Burton movie. That's going to be awesome. I mean, it would be like it'll make Grant Morrison look like, I don't know.
Yeah, like normal.
Who's the most boring, subtle writer you can think of?
I want to say a name, but I'm going to keep it to myself and tell you when we're not doing this.
I know what name you're thinking. But
I'm not going to tell that story right now. All right, so I guess that brings me to my top pick.
Yes,
moving right along.
Yes.
I've got Ultimate Spider-Man number 29, which I should actually correct myself. Ultimate Spider-Ham.
Yes.
Spider-Ham is doing well, and here he is. And looks like they may just be adapting the episode because it looks very much like that same art. I don't know if it's always that way, but this just looks like the episode artwork. And they kind of squeezing it in there. You know what? With the resurgence and the love of Howard the Duck that is just kind of ignited, I can see a little space and time for Spider-Ham.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's what's happening.
I think he is going to be in that Spider-Man crossover, that big Spider-Verse.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. It'd have to be, right? So are they just warming us up with this guy?
Must be.
Any opportunity to see some Spider-Ham, I'm all about it. That's what, and I love that the face mask is just his snout and nostril. Like, I love Spider-Ham. I cannot say this enough. And I do have a lot of those original issues still in real nice shape, which oddly enough are starting to gain value, which is weird to me.
That doesn't surprise me, actually.
I guess it shouldn't, but Spider-Ham. Yeah. I guess I'm not alone. All us nerds always think we're alone. No. We're not.
A lot of people love the ham.
Indeed. So what do you got?
Well, my topic was an easy one because it's the only book that I can actually read. Everything else, I have to read something else beforehand.
All right.
But I am caught up, which I guess says a lot, on Superman. This is number 34. This is the third issue from Jeff Johns, John Romita Jr.
I like the story.
I've really been enjoying this book a lot. It's really just kind of a fresh breath.
Yeah.
Into Superman. You don't need...
Especially this current Superman, which was feeling so not at all like Superman to me.
And it's you don't need to know what's going on.
No.
You don't need to have read anything. You just need to know the basics about Superman that everybody knows. Yep. So they're making it a great jumping on point. I think the artwork by John Romita Jr., a lot of people have a problem with the way that he renders things. He's a very stylized. Things are blocky. His faces look very similar. But he will be the first one to admit the drawing itself is not what he's all about. He's about storytelling. He's about breaking that story down, and he does it better than almost anybody working today. A lot of people get a lot of attention for their really kind of flashy layouts. These are all very classic, traditional comic book layouts. They're dynamic. This is what kind of old-fashioned comic book storytelling is all about. His artwork looks
better than it's looked in years, too, to be quite frankly. I think he needed a fresh breath of air.
He is energized being on this book, being in a universe he's never played in before. And it's great. I mean, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's bringing it.
Yeah, and Jeff Johns, again, a lot of people...
he's a good fit for Superman.
A lot of people, look back to Jeff Johns' kind of more recent run on Action Comics with Gary Frank. But he's actually been on the book a couple of times, and he was writing the book way back in the early 2000s during like the Return to Krypton storyline with guys like Jeff Loeb and Joe Kelly, I think, or Joe Casey, one of the two.
He was Joe Kelly.
some really great stuff on the book on Superman that flew under everybody's radar because it was not a high-profile, splashy book, but it was a good, solid, traditional superhero comic, and I think he's bringing that to the table here again. So yeah, this is as much as I enjoy what Grant Morrison has done on the book, because Grant Morrison always brings kind of an interesting take on Superman. I think so far this is the best Superman of the New 52.
I agree.
By far.
It's finally a Superman that I'm interested in.
It's Superman. I mean, all those people have been complaining, and he doesn't have the red tights. He's got a bunch of lines on his costume. But if
I could whine about tights. Primarily, I just wanted to see a Superman I was familiar with.
Yeah.
And I'm finally getting that in personality and tone, and that's all I wanted.
And it's actually a clever story with a neat twist.
Yeah, so, I like that.
So kudos to Jeff
back, John. Basically has the same origin as Superman, but from Earth to somewhere else.
Yeah, clever
and
stuff.
Comes back to Earth with powers. That's sweet.
And it is one of those, like, and maybe someone has done a story like this in 76 years of Superman.
It's okay.
I'd be surprised if they haven't. But the fact that, I have not seen this means it was not a very big story, at least in the last 40 years that I've been reading Superman books. So yeah, great stuff. Jeff Johns. I'm glad.
I mean, I have seen this story before in the Bible, but no, it just sounded like I read the Bible. I've never read the Bible.
Me either.
But I've heard of some dude named Moses.
Yeah.
So I think Moses did it first.
Moses did it first, admittedly, but Moses wasn't drawn by John Romita Jr. So
I bet Moses would have kicked more ass if he was.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know though. He was Charlton Heston.
Touche. Well, I guess that is a good week of books, and that is your Week in Geek.